Arc Raiders' newest update dropped today, a follow-up to the content that we saw added via the Phantom Targets event, and with it came new content you'd expect to see that was previewed, but honestly, quite a few more things that were rather interesting of note also happened today. So today we're running down what you need to know, drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS content. Very busy week upcoming and rolling into this fall. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at Advanced GG, where code Espresso can get 10% off your entire order, but more on that a little later. For now, let's get into what this update changed. So this entire second part of the Phantom Targets event is kind of alluding to Arc adapting. Some things different about them, the Wasp being the first one potentially up. Maybe we see more of this stuff happen in the future, but we end up having pages 4 to 6 of the Phantom Targets project available, along with the accompanying event that goes along with it, that being a merit-based event, but we'll touch on that in a second. Pages 4 to 6 overall have a actually decent amount of rewards you can end up getting here, things like a Silencer 3, things like the Fireworks Blueprint, the Crash Pad Blueprint, the Anvil Splitter, stuff like that, that maybe things you don't regularly find too much, but for all what eventually becomes relatively easy challenges up until probably that last part here of this on page 6. The first two pages, 4 and 5, is just a collection-based event once again, where you have new things like the Glitched Arc Power Converter, Phase Array, Light Ring, and Circuitry. These all being new crafting items that will be found within Wasps. That being a core focal point of this update from not only just the event and project side of things here, but also, as we'll touch on in a second, it's actually seemingly pretty good for making the Wasps useful, adding to a level of economy they can bring to the overall gameplay loop. Now, just to be thorough, page 6 does require players to end up getting damage on any flying arc using fireworks, so that's something that'll be interesting, but you are granted that Fireworks Blueprint here before you get to that point in the project, so it's not going to be a situation where you have to hope you find fireworks and then hope that flying arc will fly over top of it. Next, however, is the Phantom Targets event, another set of items that can be earned by simply just playing the game and, of course, then contributing merits to the project itself. The new items of those new arc cores within the Wasps, those are what are going to be your focal points here for the sort of item merits you can come out of it. And truth be told, you can breeze through this with relative ease. It seems like every single Wasp is going to end up having a chance of a common, uncommon, rare, epic, or legendary core here that once you take that out, it of course then adds to your merit total. And I think that within my first match, which I only stayed for like, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, I probably ended up getting maybe like 10 to 12 cores perhaps, which you gotta remember is only about 10 to 12 Wasps killed, so very easy to do. And I came out with, I think, like 650 merits or something like that. Again, just out of one quick little run here. Honestly, for the earlier stages of this project and event, at least, running on like 3 hours of sleep and coming straight off an overnight flight back home, I really haven't gotten to complete the whole thing just yet. I imagine the fireworks damage is going to be kind of annoying, but the rest, honestly, really not that bad in terms of how easy it is to complete this. What I really like so far about this is that they have given actual value to what I personally consider to be the most useless and least worthwhile to interact with archetype that we've had in this game pre-update. I mean, every other time if I ended up taking out a Wasp, it was just kind of to get that fly out of your face. I didn't actually ever go and engage with that because it didn't offer anything other than light ammo, a power cell, maybe some weapon parts, and of course the Wasp driver, but none of that stuff really was all that worthwhile. So now to end up seeing this have something that is valuable, it's definitely nice. But assuming they don't remove the elements of the loot following, all of this can also be sold for a decent chunk of change. I mean, it's a 1 to 3 shot kill depending on what you're using, like Hall Cracker being 1, 3 being a heavier weapon like an Anvil, or potentially a little more if you use like a medium or light ammo and aren't necessarily going for the thrusters. But if you pull a legendary core out of that, that's 5,000 per kill, which is wildly lucrative in terms of resale of parts. So now there's actually a reason to engage with Wasps again, which I definitely think is cool. We also saw with this update some smaller content that's like kind of just footnote stuff, but again, in the interest of being thorough, this was added with this update. We ended up seeing new Twitch drops added to the game, where this, as with all Twitch drops, it's just simply, if you have your Embark account linked to your Twitch account, watching somebody stream Arc Raiders will end up giving you progress towards this, where for 1 hour and 2 hours respectively, you can get the Car Air Freshener Backpack Charm and the Ceramic Vase Backpack Attachment. Now, we'll be likely live here on the channel and over on Twitch tomorrow, I would say, for most of the day doing the project and everything like that. I wanted to get live today, but again, because of that overnight flight back home and just minimal sleep, man, I I might hold off until tomorrow. Might not make it. But if you guys are interested in that, of course, shameless plug, we'll be live. You can end up getting those items there just by hanging out with me or even just having it tabbed. That goes for anybody. You don't necessarily have to be engaged watching for 2 hours, but just simply have a creator you want to support up on the second monitor in a different tab, whatever the case. Then we ended up getting the Tick Hunter set as well. This being one of the new bundles for the shop that is actually real life money, but it's one of the things that the skin, I mean, if you kind of break it down in just comparable air quote value, what you see is you're getting basically 2,400 Raider tokens for the $20 you pay, and then the skin and everything else like that is kind of a bonus here. So that is something that you do end up having the ability to get 4 different colorways and a couple of different armor pieces and stuff like that for the Tick Hunter set, but is kind of lesser content. I just, again, for the sake of being thorough, that was added with today's update. But all right, that's the stuff we knew was going to be added. But like I said, some stuff was expected and other items, not so much. One change that was made to matchmaking overall was improved regional map conditions scheduling. So this is something that's now going to be region specific, where you're not going to have one blanket set of map conditions for the entire globe. Instead, you're going to end up seeing that if you go and pick a destination, you're going to see in the bottom right what your region is, what your server is that you're on. So Embark stated, we've been working to make sure that the way we schedule map conditions is aligned with your playing habits. To that end, we're introducing regional map condition scheduling. Starting with 1.42, map conditions will have their schedule offset based on regions instead of one single global schedule. This means that the schedule will shift to fit specific regions' peak hours to better match your experience. This way, it'll be less likely to miss out on a map condition regardless of where you are. And so in theory, I definitely think this is an interesting way to take this. I don't quite know how this will work out just yet, but there have been plenty of times that myself, maybe wherever you are in like Europe and Asia, the Oceanic region, it's something that you're definitely going to notice that there were some things you wanted to jump in and try, but they only ever showed up at like 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. your time, oftentimes whenever you're likely asleep or perhaps in the middle of your workday, or if on the weekend when you're doing something else other than playing a game. So for this now to then be offset so it's regional is an interesting way to take this, but again, a little too early to tell how this will work out, if it's the right way to approach this, or if it's just a trial and error misstep and we see something corrected in the future. But for right now, that was something that was suggested as well. We did see a reiteration on the anti-cheat here within Arc Raiders, but again, as a lot of people will probably mention and probably see, a lot of this could very much so just be like PR discussion and talk that doesn't one-to-one correlate with how the game is actually impacted, but they gave a little clarification here at this. They said some new and some recurring topics have crossed paths since their last discussion, and they wanted to reassure that keeping topside safe against cheaters and exploits is a top priority for them. They said, when we see reports of third-party software being used to gain an advantage of any kind, in-game or at account level, we investigate. The first and most important step is to verify the validity of the report and whether or not the software actually does what it claims to do. A lot of the time, claims are just that, and interacting with this kind of software carries a large amount of risk. Be aware that downloading unverified and unofficial software can put more than just your account at risk. Beyond getting banned and losing account access to the game, your data and personal information could be exposed. Remember that your account is only as secure as the weakest link. In order to protect your account, your purchases and progression, we strongly recommend 2FA or passkeys and such like that. Then they go on to say that recent actions and future plans. Over the past few weeks, they've been making several improvements alongside AnyBrain and Denuvo Anti-Cheat. This has resulted in shifted action being taken against a large number of accounts that were using recently popularized cheating software. There's also the matter of ensuring permanent sanctions for serial blatant cheaters. We continue working on methods that make it more difficult for new accounts to be obtained and that discourage cheaters from returning. There have been more compounding improvements in our ability to also detect accounts that participated in what we classify as economy exploits, which means we can quickly sanction offenders. These types of sanctions have been ongoing, that likely relating back to recent duping and stuff like that. But they said, additionally, we have several simultaneous initiatives that are meant to address teaming and general matchmaking abuse. We know how important having a consistently good experience is, and that in certain regions or at certain times, it's easier to run into groups of players to try to force their way into lobbies and engage in griefing. We'll share more of these when we're ready. And that, of course, is not all. We'll keep building up the initiatives we mentioned, and we'll do our best to make sure that your experiences across the Rust Belt are fun, thrilling, and most importantly, fair. So what I take from that is a lot of talk. Like, that's not something that we can definitely say is going to fix an issue, or that it's not necessarily nothing, but it seems like this is an update for the sake of an update in a lot of cases, where again, with this kind of stuff, obviously the results are what you're looking for. And when a lot of people are feeling like there's not results, it kind of feels like this is an empty statement. So right now, take it as face value, but realize that yes, there absolutely is more that should be done, and it seems like more is being done in the near future. But again, whether or not that's at the timetable you'd like or not, that's entirely subjective. Outside of that, though, we actually had some interesting gameplay changes to the game. We ended up seeing a couple of things in relation to audio, where they refined footstep and movement sounds indoors, removed scuff sounds, improved audibility at distance, and updated occlusion and concrete surface cues. You can kind of hear that for sure, like right off the rip. They improved footstep audio when moving through the foliage for clearer, more natural sound. They added unique footsteps when moving over plastic cloth and tarp surfaces. And one thing, again, that I immediately noticed in my game was they added different audio for all Tier 3 magazine upgrades and those firing sounds. So if you end up seeing somebody that has like a medium mag 3 on a Renegade, you're going to notice that like immediately. It's going to have a different punch to that audio. Probably the biggest thing, though, that was a surprise here out of this and the gameplay changes was that the Snitch can now call a Rocketeer in. Additionally, you can call a Firefly and Hornet duo in, not necessarily throwing in just the Wasps, but I've actually seen that, yeah, where it is just the Firefly and the Hornet and nothing else, but a Rocketeer. Spawning that thing is, it's going to make maybe taking out or trying to bait those snitches a little more dangerous, where that's only going to affect the actual live snitch. If you have a snitch scanner, that shouldn't be affected by this change, but kind of crazy one that, again, seemingly was out of nowhere. They also fixed the stomp attacks from the Queen and Matriarch, sometimes hitting through walls or from much further away than intended. Thank goodness. I have had many times where that's happened, one of which almost actually genuinely got me killed. Thankfully didn't, but obviously now should be working as intended. The Photoelectric Cloak now works against the Turbine, Lightning attacks, and Matriarch missiles, and a couple of other things as well. But that is the update here that we had for the live update 1.42 and what we ended up seeing with the new content and a couple of other gameplay changes thrown in the mix there as well. So let me know your thoughts down below. Definitely a little more than we may have anticipated here. Again, the content of part 2 of this project was definitely something we knew of, but the rest, a little bit surprising perhaps. But let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think of this here? Before we wrap everything up, though, a quick heads up. We've partnered with our friends over at Advanced GG. A bit under the radar here the last few months, but we're ramping things up now, going into a crazy busy fall with multiple large game updates for games like Arc Raiders and future seasons of Battlefield 6, new launches in Modern Warfare 4 and GTA 6, and everything in between. Advanced is the healthier energy supplement option. I use it as my daily comparable cup of coffee, currently drinking the Raspberry Lemonade and Magic Rainbow Sherbet as two of my personal favorite flavors that I'd highly recommend. And on that note, we've actually co-branded the Rainbow Sherbet along with a few other items on their site, like a 26-ounce ice shaker cup. But for real, I love this stuff, and if you're looking for a replacement for your own cups of coffee, give this a try, check it out, or grab a restock here before the craziness of all the games and updates coming later this fall. And if you decide to, Code Espresso can get 10% off your entire order, but no pressure at all. I just appreciate you checking it out, and of course, checking out the video. But for now, that's what we're gonna call it. Again, drop your thoughts down below, drop a like if you guys enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS coverage. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.